Hello, I'm Russell Sturgis. I'm the founder and principal of EAP Mentor. Welcome to the next instalment in our blog series on Understanding Mindfulness. Today I want to talk about mindfulness and parenting. And in particular, I'm going to be focusing on a concept of parenting called natural justice. So mindfulness, in the context of Western mindfulness, is remembering in each moment that you have a choice to be more loving to yourself, to others, and to the planet. And so everything that is about this approach to mindfulness is, first of all, having a choice. And awareness, or knowledge and understanding, isn't just limited to the choice, but it also incorporates the consequences of the choice. So invariably, when we're in our place of suffering, we're already aware of what the consequences are for the choices that are less serving. If we're making the decision that we want to make a better serving choice, then we may have to research or better appreciate what the benefits are and what the improved consequences are of making a self-loving choice. So the concept of natural justice is actually based on empowering children to make choices. And of course, in order to be in a position to make a choice, they have to be informed about what the options are and what the consequences are. And what happens is they are then also encouraged to consider their choice so that they're taking responsibility for the consequences. And this is fundamental. When we make a decision as an adult to either choose something that's more or less serving. So, for example, if it's less serving, what we know is that lifestyle choices result in lifestyle, either health in terms of our well-being, or lifestyle diseases. Nobody's punishing us for having made poor choices around lifestyle. It's not like we're being, God's punishing us for being bad. It's the natural consequence of having made those choices. Now, in terms of dealing with children, we establish what the framework is in terms of having it be really clear about what's less serving and what's better serving. And in some situations, and invariably in many of them, you're going to have to bring into reality the consequences. You're going to have to police the consequences. But the beauty about this is that you're not punishing them. What they're experiencing is a consequence of the choice that they made, that they were aware of, that was premeditated, that the rules were clearly established, and they've chosen to go down a particular route that was responsible for causing the reaction and the consequences to what it was that they decided they wanted to do. So I want to share with you another example. In the blog, I give you an example of a mother with a teenage son. One of my daughters has a 2-year-old. And recently they went camping and they're away for several days. And Miss 2-year-old decided that she didn't want to have an afternoon nap. Now, the consequence of that is that she's a fully active little girl, which means that she continues to be fully active. But when it gets to later in the day, as the tank's running empty, she gets grumpy and she's upset. And so what ends up happening is that everybody's affected by her decision not to have her afternoon nap. So very early on, after 1 or 2 days on the camping trip, Mum decided that it wasn't appropriate for her to continue to avoid her sleep. And so on this particular day, she said, you need to have an afternoon nap. And the reason being is that when you don't, your behaviour impacts on everybody else that's camping with us, which was friends and family. And so I'm going to give you a choice. And the choice is you can either go down and have a nap of your own choice, or if you choose not to sleep, then you're going to have to sit on a chair up here at the tent and not go to the beach later on when everybody else goes to the beach. You're going to have to miss out on having that fun later on. And so she was given this clear choice, either to have a sleep so that much later on she'd be a happy little Vegemite, or if she chose not to have her afternoon nap, then she wouldn't be able to be with everybody else, because it's generally after that afternoon nap time, because there were other little children there, when she could get a little bit more tired and could become a little bit obstropolous in dealing with the others. So she decides she's not going to have an afternoon nap. Now, in this particular case, in the parenting scenario, it required my daughter to have to sacrifice her time at the beach, because it actually required somebody to be there with her to stop her coming down to the beach. And so my daughter set up a chair with her chair beside it, and she put a 2-year-old in it, and she said, you're going to have to sit here while everybody else is down at the beach. Well, this came as a shock to her that she was put into this predicament, and so she sat there for a couple of minutes and got up and she went beach, and her mother goes, no, you can't go to the beach because you chose not to have a sleep, so go back and sit down. And it's my understanding that my 2-year-old, and I love their persistence, God bless them, that 20 or 30 times she proceeded to get up and go beach, and her mother go, no, you have to sit there. And of course, the mother had to sacrifice her being at the beach and having a good time in order to bring this mechanism of natural justice into reality. Needless to say, there were some tears, and she was getting upset that she wasn't allowed to go down. However, what happened was, for the rest of the time that they were camping, when it came nap time, she went and laid down and actually had a sleep. Now, Tegan didn't have to be upset about punishing her, and it wasn't sort of a reaction to her naughtiness. What was happening in this particular situation is that a choice had been established, and my granddaughter was put into a position where she could make a choice about what she wanted to do, and that there were implications to the choice. And it kind of seems ridiculous to think that a 2-year-old has this ability to be so cognitive around making choices. But the very fact that the next day she chose to lie down and go to sleep so that she could go to the beach meant that she understood the principle exceptionally well. So what we've got to be able to do is reinforce the principle of mindfulness by inviting our children to come into a place where they're mindful of the choice that they're going to make. And of course, that becomes part of the parenting role, is as the parent, when the child is embraced with the choice, you're able to reinforce the fact that they can stop for a minute and consider what the alternatives are and what the consequences are, and to remember that they have a choice. They have a choice to do something that's better serving with a better serving consequence, or they can do what they've always done, resulting in something that's less serving. It's a really powerful dynamic that, if taught at the age of 2, is able to be used constantly through the evolution and development and progress of this child, to the point where when they become an adult, they will fully understand the power of mindfulness and choice. And of course, as we've said, with anything to do with awareness and choice, awareness is about gathering knowledge and understanding so that you have context in which to make a choice and that you understand what the consequences are. One of the things that I do when I'm mentoring people in developing new neural pathways, a very, very important part of that in terms of developing new neural pathways, is that people understand the consequences of their choices. And so if they've been dealing with suffering as a result of the choices that they've been making, when they start to develop a new neural pathway, they're wanting to establish something that has less suffering associated with it. And in fact, it's not about even less suffering. It's really about being able to have something that embraces joy and happiness and fully embracing life with health and well-being. And it's no different in bringing natural justice as it relates to working with a 2-year-old. The principle of mindfulness can permeate every aspect of our life, and over, as we continue in this blog series, I'm going to have more of an opportunity to talk to you about how mindfulness can impact on the way in which we live life from day to day. Hope you find this informative. If you'd like to know more about EAP, please go to our website, eapmentor.com, go to our Facebook page, Enhances Awareness program, and please, if there's anything that you'd like to know about our program, contact us. We'd be happy to get in touch. Talk to you next time.